So hi guys, how are you? I'm Sep and welcome back to my channel. So we are watching currently the Lord of Mysteries episode 2 cut content because there was apparently some spoilers from episode 3 and 4 in the episode 2 cut content. That's why I did not watch this cut content, but now we have watched the episode 3 and episode 4 of Lord of Mysteries. So now we can see the cut content of episode 2 and react to this video. How Klein really became a Beyonder and his powers explained. So we'll get to know more about his powers. Okay, and shout out to AniNews for providing with this cut content stuffs.
Guardians, but also a bunch of miserable wretches constantly fighting against dangers and madness.
Okay, starting with some interesting dialogues. So this dialogue was like, I am pretty sure it was said by Dunn when like he was after like talking to Klein in the graveyard of all the Beyonders that have like sacrificed themselves. And I think that the meaning of this sentence is like that, like being Beyonders, even though you have these great powers and stuffs, like there is so much danger and you have to like constantly fight with dangers and madness, and there is a possibility that you can also go into the realm of madness. And yeah,
Such a quote defines what it means to be a Beyonder, but for Klein, becoming one meant something a little bit different. It was all part of his efforts to get back home.
yeah.
Still, choosing to do so wasn't easy, and gaining the rights to become one was even more difficult. We just didn't get
Yeah, Klein is doing it for himself so that he can go back to his home someday. But what if like it is considered as being greedy? Because it is mentioned many times that if you are being greedy while doing rituals and the other stuffs like becoming a beyonder can put you into madness. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
the whole event which earned him that right was left out. There was a whole cutscene
Really?
involving this guy and Klein's assistance in capturing him.
Oh, because like in episode 1, like I was thinking he has to be like pretty important character that he was, but not on the level that I thought of, because he was just a part of the secret organization, the secret order. And he was also like trying to gain the Antigonus notebook, and he somehow like got the notebook into the market.
Aside from this are the insane amounts of lore the anime simply can't include, so if you're curious to know more about different sequences, Roselle's diaries, Beyonder powers, or just grasp the story a little bit better, stick around as this will cover all of that. Let's get started. Episode 2, Beyonder, covering chapters 19 to 44 from Volume 1 of the web novel. With Klein now aware of all the risks associated with becoming a Beyonder,
Yeah.
it was also important to know they weren't as powerful as he might imagine. Like, when it came to guns or any other ranged weapons, a low sequence Beyonder really wasn't any match for them.
Yeah.
That being the case, it was yet another thing to consider when choosing to venture down this path of his.
Like in episode 3 when like all the three Beyonders, Dunn, Mitchell and Daily Simon, the psychic expert lady, so these three, all these like Beyonders, 2 sequence 7 and 1 sequence 8, they were fighting against the demon, like when Ray Bieber like transformed into a demon while being absorbed by the notebook of the Antigonus family. Like they three together were struggling to fight against Ray. From the outside, like they have so much insane powers, and it seems like they're like pretty much undefeatable. But still, in front of the demons, like they're weak compared to them.
To be wary of would always be the influence of the potion, though, so as long as he didn't consume the wrong potion and took his time to grasp control of his powers, the risk of losing control himself would remain low.
Okay.
Why would Klein even bear all that risk in the first place, though? Well, you gotta remember it was solely to find a way back home.
Yeah.
If he was ever gonna return to the life from which he came from, then Klein knew he needed to understand the essence of mysticism here. Now, a key difference that leads to a major story shift in the novel is that even if Klein wanted to become a Beyonder right now, he wasn't allowed to since he still needed to prove himself. Whether that be by interpreting critical ancient documents or something else, his position mostly depended on the arrangements of the higher-ups.
Oh, in the anime, he just like Dunn told him to like go meet Old Nile, and just Old Nile gave him the task to like decipher the notebooks, and he pretended that he could not. So it was cut from the anime. like it was a taste for him to like actually prove himself, because he's a history graduate, and like old Nile is into this mysticism stuffs and know about this like old notebooks more, so he is needed, so he needs to prove himself first.
How then did Klein proceed to prove himself? Well, that's a bit of cut content we'll talk about later on in this video.
Okay.
For now, Dunn would go on to explain the responsibilities of all the other civilian staff members. These were the tasks Klein believed he would be responsible for. His only tasks were to find hints of the notebook's whereabouts and read all the literature in the armory.
Oh, Dunn did not give him any other task other than like decipher the notebooks and read about these stuffs.
Dunn would point
Okay.
out a large structure known as the Chanis Gate, identifying it as a
Chanis
unit
Gate.
under every central cathedral in every major city. It
Okay.
was founded by the man who created the Nighthawks, and behind it lay potion formulas, magic materials, and even a whole.
But who created the Nighthawks? We know the Nighthawks is a part, like a secret organization, secret like beyonder organization, like under the church of the Evernight goddess. But who created the Nighthawks? There has to be like one person in the beginning who created all these stuffs, because we know like in the seven orthodox beings and churches, like Evernight goddess church were like one of the like firsts, and it is the like in myth of creation, like Evernight goddess was the part of the eye of the true god.
Building ground for heretics, mutants, cultists, or other nefarious magic materials, and even man who created the Nighthawks, and behind it lay potion formulas, magic materials, and even a holding ground for heretics, mutants, cultists, or other nefarious people. And even a holding ground for heretics, mutants. It lay potion formulas, magic materials, and even a holding ground for heretics, mutants, cultists, or gate is always guarded by at least one formal Nighthawk member, and inside are two keepers provided by the church. Countless
Okay.
traps defended it as well, so under no circumstance was Klein to ever go beyond the Chanis Gate.
Okay.
Inside were all sorts of classified documents and
Yeah,
records.
the
That
artifacts.
In the basement were items known as sealed artifacts.
Yeah, sealed
These were
artifacts.
extraordinary tools that, if placed in the wrong hands, could cause
Yeah,
immense
they are very
destruction.
dangerous and they are like grade
Have
levels.
certain living characteristics, and
Yeah,
when
living
they go to influence their
characteristics.
surroundings, attempt to escape or try something.
We got to know about this in the extra part 3. That's why it was good that I watched the episode 3 and episode 4 first, because now this extra stuffs and the cut contents like makes more sense, and now I can understand it more and make like more new theories.
Something even worse. So, in a way, these sealed artifacts were kind of like SCPs.
SCPs,
Anomalous-type
okay?
entities that needed to be strictly monitored and controlled.
Yeah, they're
These
like kind of
artifacts
similar.
were also graded on a scale where, at the
Yeah.
top, they were extremely dangerous.
Grade
and
0 is the
not
most
capable of
dangerous.
any capacity, while anything lower could be used with specific limitations or basic care and moderation.
Yeah.
The lowest grade was still considerably dangerous, but as long as it was used carefully, it could be brought out for operations that required 3 or more people.
Okay. There is like I also like saw this in the anime, but I did not think about it much that time. But in the like artifact of the like in the box, like where 2049 was kept, like there was something about this number J173. I don't know what is the significance of this. I don't know if we'll know in the future, but yeah, that seems interesting. And this symbol is just the like symbol of the church, I am guessing, the Evernight goddess church.
To quickly know how dangerous an artifact was, one simply needed to look at the numbering.
uh okay. Good, we will know about it right now. Okay.
The one in episode 3, this was 2-040. The 40.
Grade 2 sealed artifact number 14.
Done
Okay,
by mention
he is the 49th artifact in the grade 2, so there are like more like we don't know if there is after 49, but there are 48 more like grade 2 artifacts, sealed artifacts.
would then mention a archbishop who lost control and stole one of the most dangerous artifacts the church had, but that's a story I'm sure will be mentioned later.
Wait. There was nothing mentioned about the archbishops in the anime. So there was one corrupted archbishop who stole one of the most dangerous artifacts from the church, from our church. Okay,
That's a story I'm sure will be mentioned later. Of the
okay, that is pretty interesting.
Of the foreshadowing they did give, though, it was received like a very ominous warning since this was one of the artifacts they couldn't even keep records on.
So the artifact was probably very dangerous. So I'm assuming it has to be grade 0, and they did not even have any records of that artifact, and it is some kind of foreshadowing.
Everything about it needed to be passed on verbally. Never could it be written into words.
Really?
It was after this that
Okay.
Klein would be sent to see Neil.
But why? Because the powers are so dangerous. If someone finds the document where the powers of the artifact is written, it can be very dangerous. So that's why it is only verbally told to people that the church actually believe.
Formal member of the Nighthawks no longer suitable to handle cases anymore. He had refused to be a keeper of the Chana's Gate, so now he simply spent his days accompanied by his
So old Nile was a past Nighthawker, but then he refused to protect the Chinese gate and just be a guard.
gate, so now he simply spent his days accompanied by his documents and records.
Okay.
Documents Klein was sent to help him arrange here.
Yeah.
This would first be after Dunn had given him his advance payment, since as someone who's seen his place, Dunn felt Klein needed an upgrade. He
Okay.
also needed to purchase a cane and a new suit too. It was then that Klein would turn to head to Old Neil's, but 2 more times Dunn would interrupt him to remind him of something else. For protection, he needed to carry some demon hunting bullets, then for practice he was to go to the range and fire 30 regular bullets daily.
Oh,
The police
he needed to
owned their own
practice.
underground shooting range, part
Oh.
of which could be used by the Nighthawks.
Oh,
So
that's
this was
interesting.
all part of making Klein ready for his next tasks. After this was a cutscene introducing the character Oriana, since she was the accountant who would give Klein his pay.
Oh, I don't think she was mentioned in the anime. Did we ever see her? I don't think so. The name of the lady that was the clerk in the counter, she was different. Okay.
How did she end up working for the Nighthawks? Well, that's a story not too different from Klein's. You
Oh.
see, it was 16 years ago that a serial killer was terrorizing the city, butchering women in a series of gruesome murders that left them gutted.
Okay.
Oriana was about to be that killer's 6th victim, up until the Nighthawks had saved her. As it turns out, this butcher was a Beyonder, and his numerous victims were all part of a sadistic ritual preparation for the devil.
So beyond the sacrifice to awaken some kind of evil force, the same thing over and over again.
Well, Oriana was luckily spared from it, and it was ever since that she'd been working for the Nighthawks.
Okay.
It was while Oriana was sharing all that Klein would also be admiring the money he was given.
Yeah.
As someone so absurdly passionate about it, Klein couldn't help but take in the money's magnificence. He would also recount the figures imprinted on it, both of which were former monarchs. There was Henry Augustus I, who Klein felt an indescribable closeness to. William Augustus VI,
Sixth or fourth. He's saying sixth, but here it is written. I don't know.
the man responsible for freeing the Lowen Kingdom from the shackles of the Old Order.
Old Order? Is it also a cult that we don't know of? Or he's just saying about the ranking or the kingdoms that was in the past? I don't know. And why did Klein
This is the sixth
feel
person.
close knit to Henry Augustus? We know that Emperor Rozel was a transmigrated. It is now pretty much confirmed. He has some kind of connection with this past emperor also. So are all the emperors transmigrators? I don't think that's possible. But it can be. It can be. That's also a pretty interesting theory.
Klein did bits of lore from prior to Klein's meeting with Neil, an encounter which would introduce the Emperor Roselmo.
Yeah.
When it came to his lost diaries, the reason so many copies existed was because many believed Roselle never actually died.
So many copies of the diaries, and many people believes that he actually never died.
They instead think he became a god himself, hidden from society but still worth worshipping.
In this episode, episode 2, it was mentioned that he regretted not choosing the pathway, the seer pathway, and there was mention of the two other pathways that we have never heard of. He regretted that, and because of the regret, he hid himself in in shadows. But what could the regret be? He could not defeat a certain empire. What is sheer pathway? Sheer pathway has the power of clowns, like dodging, physical speeds, acting. It has to be something related to acting. He failed in some type of like business meeting or deal, something like that. It has to be something like that, or I don't get where like more acting method will be needed. And as in acting method, I am like talking about the power of the clown, because the clown can like manage the facial expressions pretty well to lie and present themselves as like harmless, even though if something is going on in their mind, they're like pretty speedy. They can dodge any attacks pretty efficiently. They are very fit, but their offense is not great. But if Emperor Rosel regretted not choosing the seer pathway, then it has to be something not very offensive, because then seer pathway would not be useful in that case.
At all these cult rituals, the Nighthawks would occasionally find Roselle's notebook.
In this note, in this, wait. What if there are like more notebooks like the Antigonus family? Because we currently know just of the Antigonus family. What if there are like similar families like this and their like own notebooks? What if Emperor Rosel was a part of the Antigonus family? What if? Or maybe these pages are just part of the notebook of the Antigonus family. Then the theory would make more sense that Emperor Rosel is part of the Antigonus family. That's why like, and the Antigonus family's notebook is just the idea of his. Maybe it is a possibility.
Read were pretty much the same in the novel, but the one about the guy trapped in a deep darkness.
18th November. Truly a fascinating matter. A blue sky experimentation and a chance mistake made me discover the pathetic fellow lost and trapped in a deep darkness amid the storms. He can only approach the reality of this world on the day of the full moon every month. Yet he is unable to transmit his cries. He is lucky to have met me. The protagonist of the era! Wait. In the anime, only this line was said by Rosel. He's lucky to have met me, the protagonist of this era. I was thinking that he was just talking about himself because he is a transmigrator, but there is more to it. Reality of this world. Is this related to acting also? Like in the past, maybe there was certain someone that could not, like, that was too much into the acting methods, that could not see the reality of the world, or the world, this magical world himself banned him or something like that. Amid the storms, is this metaphorical or like literal storm? Full moon every month, something related to moon. Some sleepless beyonder, because in the extras it was mentioned that like for sleepless pathways, as the night goes darker, their power increases. He is unable to show his cry because he cannot cry. He is unable to cry even if he wants to. He's lucky. I am reaching because I don't know what is happening, but I'm just making theories here. But it seems so similar to Klein maybe. Maybe Emperor Rosal thinks himself that he regrets not choosing the seer pathway, but maybe he does not know the true consequences of that. Or did he intentionally wanted to like face the consequences of the seer pathway? Because this clown stuff is like pretty confusing me. Why is the seer 8 like seer pathway sequence 8 is clown? And why for seers like acting and controlling emotions for lying is important? Why is this important?
On the day of the full moon every month. His
Okay.
entry about potions highlighted the importance of acting.
Okay, why are my children so stupid? I have repeated myself so many times. Do not be fooled by those charlatans. The key thing about potion is not about grasping them but digesting them. It's nothing about tapping powers but acting. And the name of a potion is not solely symbolic at its core but a concrete imagery and a key to digestion. Most about acting. So it was pretty much mentioned in the anime that Emperor Rosel, like in the paper that Klein could read, but obviously old Nile would not be able to read because the things that was written in the page was similar to Chinese in the real world, and so Klein could read them. And Klein repeated those stuffs in like episode 4 also in front of Audrey and Olger when he was like talking about the incantation and the ritual, and when Olger was saying that like name of the potions are pretty important, then like Klein said repeated this line, like it's not just symbolic, it's concrete imagery. My children, saying something about his children, I
As
don't
well as
know.
the name of the potion being the key to digestion.
Okay,
The next entry, acting, as well as the name of the potion
but acting, okay,
being the key to digestion. The next entry came from 9 months later, and
9 months later an alliance opposing me has been established, Fishek from the north. And it was also like in previous category it was mentioned like some family like rebelling church or something like that, like it was not a like seven orthodox beings church but a church named the Soren family like assassinated Emperor Rosel. Loin from the east, Fine Potter from the south. My enemies have finally joined forces, but I have no fear. I will use facts to teach them that the generations of weapons and knowledge cannot be compensated by mere numbers and low grade sequencers. Besides, it's not as though I do not have subordinates. As for the higher grades, hehe, have they forgotten who I am? Emperor Rosal thinks highly of himself, and like from east, south, and north, like fully, like they made an alliance just to assassinate Emperor Rosal. But why? Because Emperor Rosal made so much significance, like in the whole kingdom, and everyone was like every like normal people were like taking support of him and giving him the vote because he was a supposedly transmigrator, and he like made so many progresses, made like discovered new stuffs, tarot cards, and what like so many new things.
that was the news of an opposition forming against him.
Okay,
With the Faceak in the north, the Lowen from the east, and the Fena Potter in the south, all rose up.
maybe I was thinking that maybe Lord Rosal was part of the Antigonus family. What if Antigonus family is the opposition of Emperor Rosal? Like Antigonus family, like what, has some kind of connection with the Tudor dynasty, the Salaman Empire, and something about they took some kind of mission of the Hornikis mountain. What if the opposition was Emperor Rosal?
Rosel's enemies had joined together to fight him. Still, Rosel was confident he would come out on top, mentioning something about higher grade sequences. His next entry was about losing communication with a ship seeking the forsaken land of the gods that
Some kind of storm mentioned again, and that person, whoever that was, is lost in some kind of storm. Forsaken land of God. The divine realm, the grey fog? Where would storm be? We don't know about this right now. Some area, forsaken land of God. Forsaken. Maybe lost. It can be any land, like Tudor dynasty, these stuffs, Solomon Empire. They're all from fourth epoch. Hornikis Mountains. Like there was supposedly a kingdom, like an empire upon the Hornikis Mountains. So that can be the Forsaken land of God that we don't know of.
There was about a woman named Ithaca who he seemed to like more than Floretta. That last one
Okay.
wasn't really that important, but all the others bore priceless information.
How do you know? Are you indirectly spoiling me? How dare you?
Digesting and acting were extremely significant, then this Forsaken Land of the Gods seemed quite important too.
So this Forsaken land of God is like full of storm. Maybe that person like who is lost in here and he's binded by some kind of curse maybe that and lost like touch with reality, but he's lucky that he met with Rosel. So maybe those two had some kind of connection. That's why he was like when he lost the connection. That's when he like thought about like telegraph stuffs.
It was when Klein was brought back to reality that his inquiry for more entries led to quite the interesting revelation. You see, with not many Beyonder related incidents happening anymore, there haven't been many opportunities to procure these types of resources.
Oh,
Potions were becoming more and more scarce since, over the past few centuries, the monsters required to make them have become more just records and books. What I mean is that you'd be hard pressed to find dragons, giants, elves, or even sea folk anywhere.
so that's why like people now believe they are like just fantasies. But what if they really existed? And it was something about that Hornikis Mountains again. If something like those actually existed there on the mountain top,
To make
maybe it did. But
is that
why are they reducing so much? There has to be some kind of reason.
about creating the Fantastic Beasts Protection Association, then
Okay.
proceeded into the matter about getting bullets for his revolver. It's here where the anime starts to really branch off, since rather than segue immediately into Klein becoming a Beyonder himself, he instead leaves, runs into Leonard, who Klein quickly perceives as a little bit gay.
I think we know about that, right?
Goes home to settle all his household affairs first.
Okay.
There was an interesting line where Leonard makes a random comment seemingly to no one, but that was
Yeah, he said something similar in the end of episode 2. Like disappointed by Klein or something like that, and his shadow was moving again as it did in episode 3 again. I don't know what is up with him.
now. It was right before Klein would leave the Nighthawks that he would first have a deeper conversation with Roseanne. The whole thing essentially fleshed out her, since Klein was asking questions pertaining to Beyonders while she was doing everything she could to convince him not to become one.
Not to become one.
Since her father was an unfortunate casualty of it,
Oh,
this realm of
that's
mystery
why.
was an area she disagreed with wholeheartedly.
Oh,
It
okay,
was a
okay.
sentiment backed by some rather wise words from her father. 2 weeks before he had sacrificed himself, he had mentioned how one should never think they can resolve hidden risks or combat by simply becoming more powerful or a higher sequence. To him, it was actually quite the opposite. In the end, death and insanity were the only two outcomes, and that was a fact which proved true for him as
Maybe Klein is also deluding himself by thinking that by going like by advancing more into the seer pathway and going lower sequence, he can be more safe. But
that was a fact which proved true for him especially. That's when Klein would insist he only wanted to know the basics, so after a bit
okay,
of pushing, Roseanne would finally cave for him.
okay,
She would
okay.
reveal high sequence Beyonders were going extinct. There were
But
only about
why?
30 or so Beyonders in their entire city to begin with, but when it came to those who were really high up there, very few were still around anywhere these days.
But why? And in the end of episode 4 also, that I'm assuming this is a true god, like the evil spirit from which the gods were created, and this is representing the eye from which the eminent goddess was created. But is the chain symbolizing that he was like sealed,
Then, for
captured,
the Beyonders
and the feather is also like connected to this god. There are so many feathers.
who were around, most were only at sequence 9.
Yeah.
Roseanne then spoke about the path the Church of the Evernight Goddess held full possession of, identifying their sequence 9 as the Sleepless.
Yeah.
This was someone who didn't need to sleep at night. It's not like they didn't sleep at all, but unlike a
Yeah,
normal person, they
we
could get
saw
by
this
with
in the
only 3 or
extra.
4 hours of it during the
Yeah.
day. Their other powers were the ability to see through darkness without any lights, an increase in power the deeper
Yeah,
into the night
we
it
saw
goes,
about all
enhanced
these
strength,
stuffs in the
intuition, and
extras. The
mental
extras
capacity when it was
like
night,
actually give
then an
like very
innate
useful
ability to detect
informations.
unknown dangers that lay in the dark. They
Yeah.
weren't so strong as to possess any supernatural abilities, though, so in order to fight monsters, they still relied on bullets or other means.
Okay.
After that was the sequence 8 Midnight Poet, then beyond that was the sequence
Yeah.
7 Nightmare.
Dunsmith.
These were the sequences Leonard and Dunn were at, and Dunn was one of only 2 sequence 7s in the entire city. That was all Roseanne knew for that path,
Yeah.
so Klein would then ask about more of the other sequence 9s. He was looking for whichever allowed him to study and grasp more knowledge. If he could somehow end up on a path like that, then he figured he could leverage that to find a way back to his old life. Unfortunately, the only one Roseanne could recall was Mystery Prior, then an incomplete Sequence 7 title by the name of Spirit Medium.
Yeah.
This would be all the information
That was the
Klein could
sequence
get,
7
leading
of
to
Mystery
his
Prior.
departure and eventful journey back home. It's here we get into quite a bit of cut content too, but the topics it deals with aren't entirely important.
Okay.
There was Klein's stop to purchase the cheapest yet most practical cane he could find.
Yeah, it was
a
in the
review of
chibi
the Old
version.
Kingdom's regulation on firearms and weapon permits, a brief moment practicing the draw of his gun over and over,
Okay.
and the reveal of his new job as a consultant. to
So he
Melissa.
actually practiced very
Klein
much.
wanted to go out to eat to celebrate, but Melissa insisted he save his money instead. She was even against moving out too, since to
Oh.
her, their living conditions weren't as bad as they could be. This then led to a whole chapter of Klein trying to convince Melissa otherwise, citing reasons like societal expectations and marriages. Melissa was still way more concerned with financial stability, so this was a conversation the two would have to have later. For now, Klein would have to deal with other matters.
Even though Melissa is like so young, still she's so mature for her age, and she like thinks about these like financial stuffs, because when like from a very young age you see these stuffs, like when your parents have died, passed away, like you have to force yourself to like understand these stuffs even if you don't want to.
Specifically the job interview which he now needed to withdraw from. This brings
Yeah.
us to a scene in the university and is actually the place where we first meet Isaac.
Yeah, Mr. Isaac. I don't know what is up with him, but his shadow became some kind of demon spirit deity. I don't know what is. What was it?
That, however, is a scene from episode 3, so we can leave that one for later.
Okay.
What comes next is probably the most important cut content so far, since it's
Really?
a sequence of events earning Klein his spot as a Beyonder.
Okay.
The whole arc is 4 chapters total, though, so unfortunately this will be a very basic rundown of it. Just remember,
Okay.
Klein doesn't get to be a Beyonder just because he wants to. It's a position he first had to work for. As for
Okay.
the way he had earned it, well, in the novel, it was because of how he handled the man who was following him here.
Oh, so it was like fully cut from the anime. Like they captured this guy after this, like after when Klein became a Beyonder. The Dunn and Daly just offered Klein just to become a Beyonder, and then he like chose to become a Beyonder. But it was like he wanted to become a Beyonder, and then had to prove himself. And then this guy from the Secret Order.
Turns out he went beyond just stalking him on the street and even went so far as to break into Klein's house. He had done so at a time when Klein was asleep, but thanks to a timely warning from Dunn in his dreams, Klein was able to wake up and force the man out.
Oh.
Dunn then took care of things from there, revealing the man to be part of an ancient organization known as the Secret Order,
Yeah.
an underground group established in the 4th Epoch and related to the Solomon Empire. It was from
Related to the Solomon Empire, and they had some kind of connection with the Antigonus family.
related to the Solomon Empire. It was from them that the Antigonus notebook had originated, and
Oh, so they originated
it was
the
only due to
notebook.
their negligence that it was lost.
Yeah, then it somehow got into the hands of the other organization, Aurora Order, and they gave it the book to Welch and Naya to like decipher the pages because they could not even understand it. But the Aurora Order people are like, there are some kind of oracles, 22 oracles, but in this secret order they're like people who has this mark.
was tasked with retrieving it, unfortunately leading to his capture here.
Okay.
Now, normally the secret order was very difficult to deal with, so the fact Klein was able to assist with the capture of one of its members, well, that was a contribution worth rewarding.
Ah.
It's because of this that Dunn would present him with an offer very few were given. He could either continue accumulating merit and wait to qualify as a worthy member of the fully complete Sleepless Path, or become a Beyonder now and choose one of the Sequence 9s from the 3 other incomplete paths they had. The first was the previously mentioned Mystery Priors, and
Yeah.
that originated from a strictly confidential group known as the Moses Ascetic Order. They were a strong-willed order centered around the maxim, do as you wish, but do no harm.
Yeah, it was their acting method, like motto, as like old Nile mentioned.
Their Sequence 9 potion granted a rudimentary understanding of anything magic related, so
Yeah.
that included witchcraft, astrology, and
Yeah.
other
We
mystical
saw these
knowledge.
stuffs in the
Mystery
extras.
Priors also became knowledgeable in a great deal of magic rituals, but
Yeah.
that opened the door to the ability to sense certain existences they maybe shouldn't. Beings hidden amongst matter they'd have to be careful around. Next was the Corpse Collector, and this gave anyone who digested it the same properties an undead would have.
Yeah, we know these
Unintelligent
stuffs.
Dead spirits would mistake them as one of their own. They would gain resistance to the cold decay and corrosiveness of death Dioras, then they would be able to see evil spirits and the characteristics or weaknesses of undead.
Yeah.
So, this was a path the church actually had the Sequence 8 and 7 potions to as well, one you might recognize as Daily
Okay.
Spirit Medium. Finally, there was the Seer path, and consuming this potion granted a greater understanding of astromancy, cartomancy, spiritual pendulums, and scrying.
Spiritual. It's like, so is that the reason like Klein gains more information while in the grey fog? Because as mentioned by himself, that when he is in the grey fog, his spirit vision like increases so much. So maybe this power also increases. So that's why like he gains more knowledge and guidance whenever he is in the grey fog. And upon on top of that, he also gains more information from Olga and Audrey.
It for fighting, but in terms of knowledge and mysticism, it was far better than the Mystery Prior.
Yeah.
The only setbacks were the incomplete nature of the path itself, its inability to be used in combat well, the risk
Yeah.
of losing control as a Beyonder, then the overall believability of Roselle's diaries. All that was incomparable to the terrible feeling of not being able to return to Earth again. You see, after recalling all these fond memories of his past life, Klein knew the only right path was the one forward. It was one
Okay.
only achievable by becoming a
So he
Beyonder.
was ready to take any
Fast
risk.
forward past a couple chapters of Klein choosing his new house, moving out, then moving in, and that's when we finally get back to the Blackthorn Security Company.
Okay.
Klein would express his intent to become a seer, stating how the other pathways just didn't meet his requirements.
Okay.
Now, when I said taking the potion would only give Klein the ability to learn about mysticism, what I meant was that there would be 3 places from which the knowledge he was seeking would come from. The first was experimentation, summarization, and enhancements. The second would be from the gods themselves, then the third the dangerous murmurings and illusory enticements Beyonders were occasionally exposed to.
So he needs to do this experimentation and stuffs and like explore new things, or he can't progress as a Beyonder. So is the acting method related to this? That most people think these stuffs are necessary to like digest a person and do advancement, but actually acting method is the true one. Like act like you are doing all these things, do things that are required as a seer pathway, like these things mentioned. And as I said in the end of the previous episode, like in the end of episode 4, that what I think about acting methods, that there are like, what like meant by acting method could be like, as I said right now, that like just act as you are like working as a pathway, but just like complete their method and do what is needed. Like for seer pathway, it was like divination, do more divination, and just get rewards and thanks, and it would be considered as a acting method of the seer pathway, and that would help like digest a potion. and for Mystery Pyre it was like incomplete acting method, like do whatever you want but do not harm. And like the intentions of the Mystery Pyre pathway is not so clear, so that's why I think client thought that the acting method is not very clear for Mystery Pyre pathways. And the other possibility could be that acting method means that do not connect with these stuffs, like has humanity and has a like connection or a touch with the real life, with reality. Or if you like become too invested in this like beyonder stuffs and like try to gain more powers and stuffs, then you would and become greedy, then you would get out of control. So like fool this magical world into thinking that you are into the stuffs and like doing digestion, but you are just acting as doing that. Maybe there are many possibilities,
For these
but these are
mysterious
just my
voices who
theories.
describe matters related to mysticism. Should
Okay.
one try to listen to those voices for a bit too long, though, there was no doubt they'd eventually go mad, fall to corruption, then become monsters. It's
Oh.
for those who do unfortunately bad fate that it's their notebooks that are usually filled with all sorts of valuable information. In
Oh.
any case, Klein was a formal member of the Beyonder team. He was still to be a civilian staff member, simply because it would take time to adapt to whatever power he develops.
Ah.
I mean, to go out and take part in paranormal missions right from the get-go, well, that would mean certain death for sure.
Yeah.
When it came to building the potion itself, for sequences of 7 and below, those typically didn't require anything other than the exact ingredients. Where
Oh.
beyond that, one might have to participate in the ritual on a spiritual level. For 7, 8, and 9, one simply needed to follow the formula and mix it.
Oh.
In fact, not
So below sequence 6, sequence 7, the potions making is not that easy as it seems. You need to do some kind of ritual and stuff to gain those powers.
on a spiritual level.
On a
For
spiritual
7, 8, and
level.
9, one simply needed to follow the formula and mix it.
Okay.
In fact, not all the ingredients even needed to be exact, as for the seer potion in particular, it was only the last two that needed precise measurements.
Oh.
They could be slightly under by just a little bit, but if they were ever too much, then anything from a mental breakdown to death could happen.
So it can be less, but it can be too much.
So
Okay.
it's those last two ingredients that were put in with great precision, and it was once finished that Klein would proceed to ingest it. The anime does a great job animating the entire process of it, but for those wondering why he needed to envision what he did,
Yeah.
it was also he could stabilize his mind and gain control again. By
Ah.
focusing on something he knew, he was able to mitigate the potion's energy and reduce any seepage of it.
Okay. Okay.
Next, Neil taught him how to manage the physical manifestation of the potion's powers, and
Yeah,
this
this
through
scene was
a method
crazy.
called cogitation.
Okay.
It potion's powers inward. It was while in this state that Klein would be able to see and understand the truth, revealing knowledge only he himself could understand.
Oh. So yeah, like this, like the Fool card, the number 0 card. Fool card is also a clown. Even in like first episode, when I saw that card, I was like thinking about like it has some kind of significance with the clown and knowledge that he can like understand. Okay.
It was a unique phenomenon classified as a mystic experience.
Okay.
Something only possible while in this state of cogitation.
Okay.
Neil would then teach Klein spirit vision, one of the most foundational abilities for pretty much any Beyonder. It was
Oh.
a mystical power that would allow him to perceive supernatural and non-physical.
So most of the Beyonders has these
It
powers.
wasn't a power one developed naturally, though, but was instead something he would have to train.
Okay.
So, first, Neil would have him discover his aura, one of 4 non-physical parts split from a person's biological body. Aura was part of a person's ether body, and that reflected a person's physical health and emotion.
Yeah.
On the deepest inner part was a person's soul body, and that referred to their spiritual core. Beyond
Okay.
that was the astral projection, and that was a person's spiritual connection to the cosmos. It was the part most commonly used for divinations and spellcasting.
Oh.
Finally, there was mind, and that was the connection to one's brain and mental capacity. For potions that improved one's analysis and observation, this would be the area it would typically target. So for now, Klein would be focused on aura, where every color he would see would
Yeah,
indicate
we saw
something
this
different.
in the
This
extra
applies
also.
to the astral projection level as well, meaning Klein should be able to easily read how a person was feeling too.
Okay.
Finally, he would see inanimate objects didn't emit spiritual traces like organic ones, but materials from extraordinary beings did. Though the creature it came from was dead, some of their leftover parts still carried what's called remnant spiritualities. They were typically the parts most crucial to potion making.
Oh.
Now, I know episode 2 still has that whole part with Leonard and Klein, but considering how far behind I am and the isolated nature of that specific incident, I might
Okay.
skip ahead to focus on the incident with the clown. I
Really?
will try my best to keep making timely videos for this,
Okay.
but there's just so much content it's hard to keep up with it. That
Oh.
said, I could skip ahead to the current episode, or I could stay where we're at and remain 4 episodes behind. Either way, I should be able to keep it.
So I think he skipped it in the future and just went into what in episode 7, 8, I don't know. But yeah, that was it for this episode. There was so many information of the extras also, but more new informations also that that were pretty interesting. And the things with the letters, the past kings, emperors, which client felt connection to, and many more things that I talked about, and more theories that I made about Emperor Rosal and other stuffs. But yeah, that was it for this cut content episode. But yeah, that's it. Stay safe, stay happy. Goodbye.